YouTube, the Denver Nuggets are in trouble, and I mean a lot of it. In their second round series with the Minnesota Timberwolves, they were beaten in game one by a narrow margin, and then in game two, absolutely blown off the floor by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now they go into Minnesota against a hostile crowd to try to even the series, where they will have to face Minnesota on their home floor for 2 straight games, already down 2-0 in this series. How is this possible? The Denver Nuggets were the clear favorite to win the West, I think, by most people that were predicting NBA playoff series, including myself. You know, they clearly looked like the best team. We give them the benefit of the doubt on a lot of things since, you know, they were the champion last year and have shown really no reason to think otherwise that they couldn't be again this year, other than maybe just a little bit better competition in the West. What happened to the Denver Nuggets? Why are they down 2-0? What can they do in Minnesota to even this series at 2 games apiece moving forward? And what has Minnesota done that's been basically way different than any other team has been able to do against Denver, in that now they have the series in their favor and totally in control of it? That's all the stuff I want to talk about in this video. Let's get right into it, folks. So first I want to talk about, you know, the individual games and how they went and why they ended the way they did, with the Minnesota Timberwolves winning each one. Let's start with game one. So game one in this series, the Minnesota Timberwolves shocked the world and beat the Nuggets on the road in Denver on their home floor and win 106-99, where this game was a really close one for, you know, all the way up to last few minutes, and Minnesota just executing better down the stretch and Anthony Edwards just totally taking over that game. You can't mention Minnesota's efforts in this series and throughout the entire season without mentioning their defense. I mean, this defense is smothering. They have played Denver so well defensively and shut down a lot of what Denver likes to do. But, you know, game one was really the Anthony Edwards show. Ant dropped 43 points on 17 of 29 shooting with 7 rebounds and 3 assists in this game as well. Really, like I said, taking over the final stretch of the game offensively. Mike Conley was really great as well, scoring 14 points, chipping in 10 assists, and shooting 5 of 8 from the field. Karl-Anthony Towns, you know, maybe wasn't as good as we thought, but he really did his part, scoring 20 points on good efficiency. Rudy Gobert was a little bit lackluster, especially offensively. He had some, you know, not so great moments, but for the most part, defensively, he did everything you thought of him and more as the DPOY. Role players played well as well. You know, besides Anthony Edwards just taking over the game, what did Denver do to lose this game, really? Well, Nikola Jokic really had kind of a poor game for his standards. You know, he ended up with 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists, you know, so you can't really say it's a poor game, but, you know, by the best player in the world's metrics, and from what we've seen of Jokic in last year's playoffs and leading up to this, it was pretty subpar. You know, he ended up with 7 turnovers. He didn't shoot very well from the field, only 11 of 25, 2 of 9 from 3. You expect a little bit better play out of Jokic in general, right? Now, Jamal Murray is, you know, dealing with an injury in this series, and that has been pretty evident. You know, he really hasn't played very well overall, and Minnesota has really given him issues. Murray played poorly in game one, in my opinion, you know, didn't shoot well. And, you know, a big reason why Denver was even so close in this game, I think, was the play of Michael Porter Jr. But, you know, after game one, I was thinking, okay, you know, Minnesota's clearly a great team. I've talked about it before. They have a really good chance against Denver. They match up well against Denver. And of anyone else besides Boston in this entire bracket left, I would expect, you know, Minnesota to give Denver the biggest issue, right? And, you know, they win game one, and I think, okay, it's a close game. Ant played his best basketball towards the end of the game, took over the game. You know, you could say it's a fluke. You could say, you know, the Denver Nuggets are going to be ready for game two and come out feeling a little pride, you know, kick in and maybe just put a squash on Minnesota, as, you know, clearly people think Denver is the better team. And like I said, they haven't showed a lot why we wouldn't think that. Now, in game two on Monday night, Minnesota from start to finish of this game, maybe not so much the first quarter, but basically from start to finish in this game, just dominated both ends of the floor. I mean, Denver really struggled offensively, only scoring 80 points total in this game. There's not a guy on the team that played, you know, as well as you think they should, especially Nikola Jokic, only scoring 16 points on 5 of 13 shooting. Did have 16 rebounds and 8 assists, but, you know, this is not the best player in the world, Jokic, that we're accustomed to seeing, and a big part of it obviously is Minnesota's defense. That's probably the main part of it. Really, the only player on the Denver Nuggets that showed up and played really well was Aaron Gordon, scoring 20 points, 8 of 14 from the field, actually chipped in 3 of 5 from 3, which is a really good sign if you're the Nuggets. You love to see when Aaron Gordon is, you know, shooting well. That really opens up your offense and makes him a lot more dynamic. But listen, man, Jokic 16 points on 5 of 13, Michael Porter Jr. 9 points on 4 of 12, 1 of 7 from 3. But the big thing was Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray scoring 8 points in this game, did have 13 rebounds, but, you know, 2 assists and 4 turnovers. The big standout of this statistical performance being his 3 of 18 shooting from the field. And if you watch this game, it's just very clear that what Minnesota does defensively, they're just swarming the ball like I've never seen anyone do, man. They are so dynamic defensively. Their strategy seems to be working to perfection. Everyone's committed every possession to these blitzes and these, you know, untimely double teams screens on, ball handlers, and they just totally disrupt the rhythm of Denver's offense, which is a big part of what they want to do. They rotate better than anyone in the league. They have some of the best individual defenders, in the entire league. Like I said, obviously big standout being Rudy Gobert, one of the greatest defensive players of all time. Their point of attack guys are, like I said, just hounds on the ball, man. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, Kyle Anderson, Mike Conley. I mean, these guys are absolute pests. And like I said, they just totally have a way of taking Denver out of the rhythm to where, they take long possessions, wind down the shot clock, and most of the time just end up sending up a prayer. I can count on two hands how many great shots Denver really got in this game. So they were just totally uncomfortable. They couldn't get any flow or rhythm going in their offense. They just weren't getting good shots, and Minnesota just was adjusting to everything Denver did. Jokic looked totally uncomfortable. Murray looked totally uncomfortable. Like I said, all of the credit there goes to Minnesota. I think if this was a lot of other defenses, probably anyone left in the playoffs, Murray has a much better game. Murray's playing better in this series. Like I said, I know he's dealing with an injury and things like that. And, once you're down 30 in a game like this on your home floor, you kind of just, it's so easy to just lose discipline and focus. And I think that's what happened to Denver, and they're the most disciplined and focused team in the NBA offensively. They're so systematic and calculated in their approach to the offense. And as I said before, against most other teams, they're getting great shots almost every trip down the floor, it seems like, or they're just ending up with a foul. So Minnesota has the defensive ability to, disrupt the rhythm of the offense, and then the individual talents to make just great defensive plays seemingly every time they need them, and they have the amount of offense to be able to supplement that and just get out to these big leads, right? So if Denver loses game 3, they're done for, you know what I mean? No one comes back from a 3-0, and it's going to be a really, really difficult game. I mean, Minnesota has total confidence now. They're feeling probably on top of the world. Denver really, really, really has to show out in this next game and have everyone play their best and get into a rhythm early. I'm sure they're all watching tape right now and figuring out what, they can do to attack this Minnesota defense, because like I said, man, this defense is one of the greatest NBA defenses I've seen in the last 5 years or so. I mean, it's just insane. They make you work so hard for each, shot you take, and they just attack Denver's strengths so well. I mean, these Murray and Jokic pick and rolls aren't even working. Like, it's just, I never thought I'd see that, that you have to give up something as an NBA defense, and Minnesota just seems to be so smart and give up the thing that they should every single possession, or just don't end up giving anything up at all, because like I said, the individual players are so talented defensively that can make up for rotation mistakes, which don't happen very often. I mean, these guys are in the right positions, it seems, every possession down the floor, and then it becomes up to Denver to create a good shot out of thin air and, make it, right? So it's one thing if you're getting good shots and you're just missing, right? That's a talent issue, or a luck issue, right? But not getting the good shots is not something I expected from Denver. Like I would expect they would get maybe a little bit less good shots against Minnesota, because Denver is just the offensive juggernaut, right? Like they just make the right plays, they make the right passes. They're so smart. Everyone on that team is so gifted in terms of basketball IQ that they just end up finding good shots. This is gonna really be up to Mike Malone and Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray to be able to figure out how to attack this defense to where you can get good shots, right? They are swarming on ball, off the ball, and they are just relentless, man. They're relentless. So without even Rudy Gobert, I didn't even mention that, I apologize. Rudy Gobert had a personal reason to not be at the game the other night. We're not going to talk about that. That's not what this is about, but just on the court stuff, he didn't play in game 2 and they still won by that margin, So you don't even have your best defender, and apparently the best defender in the NBA, winning DPOY, the anchor of your defense, the heart and soul of it. He wasn't even available in game 2 and you still held Denver to 80 points. I mean, Minnesota's got to be feeling so good about themselves, and they should, because this is something I didn't expect. I expected this to be a really close series to go 7 games and Minnesota would win in the end. But Jokic, especially Jokic and Murray, they just got to play better. They got to find a way to get good looks, for them and their teammates, because they set up most of the offense. So it's going to be a real struggle for them in game 3. I foresee Denver giving it their best shot, but how good can that even be against this defense? That's what we'll have to see. One thing throughout this entire process has been very clear to me. Denver's mortality seems more reachable and legit than ever before. A lot of people, like including myself, and like I said, there's not a lot of reasons you shouldn't see it this way going into the playoffs, but a lot of people thought Denver has kind of an unreachable status. They're above every other team, and it's very clear to me now that that's just not the case. And so 90% of the credit has to go to Minnesota, because they're just flat out playing some of the best basketball anyone's seen this season. Defensively, they're playing the best anyone's seen in a long time, and they deserve 90% of the credit. They just have played like the better team, and their defense has really showed up, translated from regular season to postseason now in 2 straight series and against the best team in the NBA maybe. So you really have to give it up for Minnesota, And like I said, Denver's going to have to give their best shot in game 3 on Friday night. That's going to determine the series basically. So how can Denver climb out of this hole? For one, everyone has to shoot well. You know, when they do get the open looks, you have to knock them down. That's going to be the big thing. But also they have to come out with a better plan, you know, because what they're doing now just isn't working offensively. You know, I'm not a offensive and defensive, mastermind, or I never coached basketball, so I don't know all the ins and outs. You know, I'm not going to pretend I do, but I know what they're doing right now isn't working, and they have to find a way to get these, really smart players good looks. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying they can or can't. I'm just saying that has to be the focus, because they're, like I said, they're not even getting good shots off. And if they are, one, they're not going in as frequently. Two, they're totally out of their rhythm and out of sorts. So they got to find a way to control the flow of the game like they always do. I think it starts early in the game, like I said. So first quarter of the next game is gonna be really, really telling how that plays out. But like I said, you do not want to be going into a hostile crowd 2 games down against the best defense in the NBA. That's just a recipe for disaster. So if I had to predict, I mean, obviously I think Minnesota's going to win this series now. Denver has to climb out of this hole against the best defense in the world, and it's not even like game 2 was close, you know what I mean, without Minnesota's best defender too. So the odds are totally in Minnesota's favor, and coming back in a game or a series against a great defense is the biggest challenge you can have. You don't want to get into a hole against a great defense. So Denver's got to really, really step up in this game 3 and win back the series. Game 4 has to be the same thing. This is going to decide who's the men and who's the boys in this game 3. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, man. Make sure you guys drop a like if you did. What do you think is going to happen in this series? Do you view Denver as, these 2 games being the end of their run and season and stuff like that? Or do you think Minnesota's a better team? Do you think Denver is going to fight back? Let me know down in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious. I said everything I need to say, so hopefully guys share with me what you think, you know what I mean, about this topic. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. We love basketball on this channel. We talk about it every single day, and I definitely want to share that with you guys as much as I can. So as many people as I can that just love the game of basketball, that's what I'm interested in fostering and harboring in this community. So make sure you guys stick around if you guys don't want to miss any more content like this. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day today, and hopefully your favorite NBA team wins their next game, and hopefully your favorite team is not Denver right now, because that's something I didn't think I'd be saying this early in the playoffs, but that's something you couldn't say up until right now. Hopefully your favorite team's not Denver, but hopefully it isn't, man, because you guys are in real trouble. But listen, if anyone can climb out of this hole, it's Jokic, best player in the world. We got to give him some leeway, right? Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day today. Stay positive, stay connected, and I'll catch you in the next one. This is your boy D-Haven, as always. Peace.